Hey guys, welcome back to Myra Stories. Today's story isn't about Hollywood lights or red carpets. It's about a quiet college student, a terrifying diagnosis, and an A-list actor who stepped in without saying a single word. Liam Brennan wasn't the type of kid who drew attention to himself. He wasn't captain of the football team, he didn't go viral on TikTok, and he sure wasn't the guy who walked into a room and made everyone turn their heads. What he was kind, thoughtful, quiet, and absolutely obsessed with cinema. At 21, Liam was in his second year at New York University Film School, working late shifts at a local indie theater just to scrape by. Most nights, you'd find him watching old DVDs on his laptop, scribbling screenplay ideas in a tattered notebook, or quoting lines from The Matrix under his breath while waiting for the subway. But if there was one thing, one person, Liam looked up to more than anything else in this world, it was Keanu Reeves. He wasn't just a fan. He admired the man. Not for the fame, not even for John Wick, but for the way Keanu carried himself. Kindness first, ego never. The stories of him giving away his salary to crew members, riding the subway, helping strangers. It gave Liam hope that fame didn't always corrupt, that there were still real people behind the Hollywood curtain. But Liam never thought he'd cross paths with him. Why would he? That is, until everything fell apart. It was a Thursday morning when it started. Liam was walking to class when he felt this sudden, tight pressure in his chest. Not a sharp pain, more like someone placing a heavy brick over his heart. He tried to ignore it, thought maybe it was stress. Too many all-nighters, too much caffeine. He was 21 after all. Invincible, right? But by the weekend, the pressure had turned into dizziness, then shortness of breath, then nausea. And by Monday morning, he was in a hospital room, wired up to a heart monitor, his film books tossed aside, replaced by clipboards and lab results. That's when the doctor came in with the words no 21-year-old expects to hear. Liam, you have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It's rare, but it's serious. And untreated, it can be fatal. He sat there stunned. He couldn't speak, couldn't think. His mind raced not with fear, but with math, tuition, rent, loans. And now, this, the doctor went on. There's a procedure that can help, a specialized ablation, only available out of state, but it's expensive. The hospital estimate is $94,000. $94,000. Liam's brain froze. His family wasn't rich. His mom was a public school teacher. His dad had left years ago. He had no savings, no health plan that covered experimental procedures. For the first time in his life, the world didn't just feel unfair. It felt impossible. He didn't cry. Not yet. He just nodded, swallowed hard, and stared at the ceiling tiles like they might spell out an answer. But the real story, the one I'm about to tell you, it doesn't start with the diagnosis. It starts with what happened after, with a name he never expected, and a kindness he'll never forget. They discharged Liam 2 days later with a folder full of paperwork, a prescription for beta blockers, and a future that looked nothing like the one he'd been working toward. He sat on the bus back to his shared apartment in Queens, his body still aching, the diagnosis ringing in his ears like a fire alarm that wouldn't shut off. When he got home, he didn't unpack. He didn't sleep. He opened his laptop and Googled 3 words: hypertrophic cardiomyopathy survival. The results weren't comforting. Then he Googled how to pay for heart surgery without insurance. And that's when the spiral started. Crowdfunding platforms, medical loan sites, student forums, debt horror stories. He read about people who mortgaged their homes, about 20-somethings crushed under 6-figure loans, about fundraisers that never reached their goals. He closed the laptop, stared at the ceiling, and whispered to no one, "Why me?" The next morning, his roommate Max found him sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a blank GoFundMe page. Liam hadn't typed a word yet. Max put down his keys. "Dude, you've got to start it. People will help." Liam shook his head. "I don't want pity. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. But this isn't pity, man. It's survival." Still, Liam hesitated. How do you explain to the world that your dreams are collapsing Because your heart decided to betray you? Eventually, he typed a few lines, then deleted them. Typed again. Deleted. Max took over. He wrote, "My name is Liam Brennan. I'm a 21-year-old film student. I've just been diagnosed with a life-threatening heart condition. I need help. Anything you can give, anything, means the world." Liam stared at it. It felt raw, exposed, but it was the truth. He hit publish. They shared it on Instagram, Facebook, Reddit. Max even tagged a few film school alumni. Within the first 2 days, they'd raised $1,200. By the end of the week, $3,400. It was something, but still a galaxy away from $94,000. That weekend, Liam's story started spreading. Someone posted it on a filmmaking forum. Another user linked it on a fan subreddit. And then, something weird happened. On Monday morning, Liam got an email from someone named C. Reeves Management. No subject line, no message body, just an attachment, a PDF. Liam hovered his mouse over it for a full minute, terrified it was spam. But Max, being Max, snatched the laptop and opened it. What they saw made them both go silent. It was a scanned donation receipt from a private foundation. Amount $94,128. Purpose medical emergency grant. Recipient L. Brennan. No sender name, no email signature, just a contact number. Liam called it. No one answered. He called again, straight to voicemail. Max Googled the foundation's name, Archway Trust. Nothing. It didn't exist publicly. That night, Liam got another email. No text, just a link. It was to an article, a 3-year-old feature in Variety magazine titled, "Keanu Reeves, the Man Who Gives Silently." In the article, buried in a few paragraphs, it mentioned something curious. Sources close to Reeves claim he's funded dozens of quiet donations through an unnamed charitable trust, often finding recipients through fan forums or personal networks. Liam's hand started shaking. He turned to Max. "No way." Max nodded slowly. "Dude." Liam stared at the screen, his heart pounding, not from illness, but from disbelief. Could it really be him? Could Keanu Reeves, his hero, have found his story and saved his life without saying a single word? Liam didn't sleep that night, not because of the diagnosis, not because of the pain in his chest, but because his entire world had tilted on its axis. He lay there staring at the ceiling in the dark, replaying every possibility in his mind. Maybe it was someone rich who happened to see the fundraiser. Maybe it was an anonymous donor moved by his story. Maybe, just maybe, it was him, Keanu. It sounded insane, like something from a movie. But so did everything that had happened in the last 72 hours. The more Liam thought about it, the more questions piled up. How did they even find him? He'd never tagged Keanu Reeves, never posted in fan groups. He hadn't sent a letter. No viral videos. Just one sad little fundraiser floating in a sea of stories. And yet, someone found it. Someone paid every cent. By morning, Liam was sitting on the edge of his bed, eyes bloodshot, holding his phone in one hand and that strange PDF in the other. He read it again. Still no name. Still no message. But that donation, down to the $94,128, wasn't random. It matched the exact amount the hospital had quoted him, down to the processing fee. That wasn't just kindness. That was intentional. Max was pacing the apartment, half in awe, half in disbelief. "Dude, do you realize what this means? You're literally living in a Keanu Reeves movie. Like The Matrix, but real life." Liam cracked a smile for the first time in days. But deep down, he didn't want to believe it just because he wanted it to be true. He needed something concrete. So he did what any rational person would do in 2025. He wrote a tweet. "To the anonymous donor who just saved my life, I don't know who you are or how you found me, but thank you. If by any miracle this reaches at Keanu Reeves, thank you for being my hero in more ways than you'll ever know." He posted it, not expecting much. But within minutes, it started spreading. A few classmates shared it. Then someone from the NYU film department reposted it with the caption, "Liam's one of the good ones. Whoever did this, you saved a future director, and we'll never forget it." Then something surreal happened. A verified account liked the tweet at Reeves Archive, a fan-curated account, hundreds of thousands of followers, known for collecting and preserving rare Keanu content. But the like wasn't the part that made Liam's stomach flip. It was the reply. Sometimes the universe sends the right people at the right time, and sometimes they're named Keanu. That was it. No confirmation, no denial. But in that moment, Liam knew, or at least he felt it in his bones. This wasn't just a miracle, it was his miracle. And even if he never got a direct message, a call, a signature, or a name, he would carry this with him forever. A life saved, not by noise, not by fame, not by obligation, but by a silent act of kindness. A true hero move, done exactly the way Keanu would have done it, without saying a word. The procedure was scheduled for the following month. Everything happened fast. Too fast for Liam to even process. Paperwork that once terrified him now flew past like background noise. Hospital approvals, financial clearances, travel arrangements, all taken care of, quietly, efficiently, like someone had been there before, like someone knew exactly how to do this. Even the hospital staff treated him differently. One nurse, while reviewing his chart, paused and looked at him curiously. "You know," she said, "it's not often someone your age comes in here with this kind of funding, especially not from that foundation." Liam looked up. "What foundation?" The nurse blinked. "Oh, Archway Trust. That's who processed your grant. I just assumed you knew them?" He shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "I've never heard of them." She gave him a puzzled smile and moved on. That night, Liam sat in his hotel room near the hospital, staring out at the city lights, feeling like he was inside a dream he couldn't wake up from. How do you say thank you to someone you'll never meet? How do you repay a life-saving kindness from a man who doesn't want the credit? He opened his notebook, the same one he'd used to write his first ever script in freshman year, and began writing again. But not a movie. Not this time. A letter. To Keanu. He didn't know if he'd ever send it, or how he even could, but he wrote anyway. "Dear Keanu, I don't know if this will ever reach you. I don't know if it should, but if somehow it does, thank you. Not just for helping me survive, but for showing me what real integrity looks like. You didn't owe me anything. I'm just a kid with a GoFundMe link, but you saw me, and that saved me. One day when I make films of my own, I'll carry this story with me, quietly, like you would." The surgery came and went like a blur. 4 hours under anesthesia, 2 days in recovery, monitors beeping, wires everywhere, numbness, then pain, then clarity. When he woke up and saw his mother crying quietly beside him, clutching his hand, he knew. He'd made it. He was still here. And for the first time in weeks, the fear that had lived in his chest began to loosen its grip. He wasn't sure what came next. There would be checkups, restrictions, medications, maybe even therapy. But there would also be time. Time he wouldn't have had. Time that belonged to him again. Given back by someone who asked for nothing in return. The city was the same. Loud, chaotic, beautiful in its mess. But Liam felt different. Slower, quieter, more present. He walked through the NYU campus like a ghost visiting his former life, still wearing his hospital wristband under his sleeve. His classmates didn't know what to say. A few gave him hugs, some just nodded. One of his professors paused mid-lecture, walked over, and whispered, "Whatever happened, I'm glad you're still here." Liam smiled. That was enough. But even in the midst of relief, a question still haunted him. Why me? Why had Keanu, if it was Keanu, chosen him? There were thousands of stories online, so many people in pain, in need. What made Liam's story stand out? One evening, back at the apartment, Max found him staring at his fundraiser page again. "Dude," Max said, "you know obsessing over the why won't change anything." Liam shrugged. I just, I don't know. I feel like I owe him something. Max leaned against the doorway. Then live. Make the kind of films you always dreamed about. That's the best thank you you could ever give. Liam nodded slowly. He knew Max was right. So he did. He started writing again. Not just short scenes and ideas scribbled on sticky notes, but full pages, dialogue, character arcs, real stories. And then one day he opened a new document and typed, "Fade in NT hospital room. Day a young man stares out a window, a heart monitor beeping in the background." He wasn't just writing about what happened, he was writing through it, processing the fear, the gratitude, the transformation. He turned his pain into purpose, frame by frame. Then a month later, something strange happened. Liam received a package. No return address, no branding, just his name written neatly across the front. He opened it carefully, heart racing. Inside was a book, a signed hardcover copy of The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. A small sticky note was tucked between the pages. It read, "When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it." K. That was it. No other message, no confirmation, just those initials. K.R. Liam stared at the note, his hands shaking. He flipped open the book and saw the highlight marks, lines underlined with pencil, soft and deliberate. One passage stood out. "The simple things are also the most extraordinary things, and only the wise can see them." He didn't need more proof. That was his proof, not the receipt, not the article, not even the donation. This book, this quiet gesture, said everything. Because it wasn't just about saving Liam's life. It was about reminding him why he had one in the first place. After the book arrived, Liam carried it with him everywhere. He didn't treat it like a collector's item. It wasn't something to be locked away or protected behind glass. It was worn, dog-eared, underlined, scribbled in, carried in his backpack like a personal artifact, a piece of evidence that kindness, real kindness, existed, quietly, steadily, without applause. His health was improving. Slowly, yes, but surely. He had follow-ups scheduled, new meds, and limits on his caffeine intake, which for a film student was the real sacrifice. But he was breathing easier, sleeping better, and for the first time since the diagnosis, he was laughing again. One night during a class screening of The Matrix, Liam sat in the back row with Max. They'd both seen the movie a dozen times, but this time felt different. When Neo whispered, "I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us." Liam felt something shift inside him, because he knew someone was out there, watching, listening, helping. When the credits rolled, Liam leaned over and said quietly, "I think I want to make something about this, about all of it." Max grinned. "Hell yes." And just like that, Liam had a mission. He pitched the idea for his senior project the next day, a short film loosely inspired by real events, a story about a young man facing a medical crisis, saved by an anonymous donor, a silent guardian, a stranger who gives everything and never asked for thanks. His professor loved it. So did the committee. He got the green light. Production started that fall. Liam directed every scene like it mattered, because it did. He pulled favors from classmates, borrowed gear from the equipment room, and shot guerrilla style around New York on a shoestring budget. But what they lacked in money, they made up for in heart. Each frame was crafted with care. The hospital scenes were raw. The subway scenes were intimate. The final monologue, a whispered thank you into the night, was delivered with tears in the actor's eyes. It wasn't just a student project. It was a love letter. To life, to survival, to the man who made it possible. When the film premiered at the campus festival, Liam didn't expect a big reaction. But the applause? It didn't stop. People cried. Professors stood up. One judge from a visiting film institute approached him after the screening and said, "That was the most honest piece of student filmmaking I've seen in years. Who inspired it?" Liam hesitated, then smiled, and simply said, "Someone who prefers to stay silent." The judge smiled back. "Those are the ones who leave the deepest marks." And Liam knew, in that moment, that the story wasn't just his anymore. It was everyone's. A reminder that behind every quiet act of goodness, there's a ripple effect we'll never fully understand. Liam's short film didn't just resonate on campus, it spread far beyond it. Within a week of uploading it online, the video had racked up thousands of views. Former classmates shared it. Indie film bloggers picked it up. Then a small entertainment site ran a piece titled, "Students Anonymous Donor Story Becomes Viral Short Film." Liam didn't expect much from that, but the next morning something happened that stopped him in his tracks. He got an email from info@archwaytrust.org. Subject, "Just watched your film." The message was short, one sentence. "You told it beautifully. Thank you for carrying the story forward with grace." There was no signature, no name, but Liam knew. He didn't need a confirmation anymore. He didn't need a headline or a selfie or a quote for his resume. That sentence was enough. Whoever was behind Archway Trust had seen the film, and they understood what Liam had done. He wasn't just saying thank you. He was honoring a moment that changed his life and giving it to the world, one frame at a time. A few weeks later, Liam was invited to speak on a student filmmaker panel in Los Angeles. It was his first time flying post-surgery, and his mom was a nervous wreck, texting him every 10 minutes like he was crossing the Atlantic in a canoe. The event was hosted by a nonprofit supporting emerging filmmakers with real-life stories. Liam sat between two other directors, both immensely talented, and when it was his turn to speak, he told the truth. "I didn't think I'd live to graduate, let alone make this film. I'm here because someone I've never met decided my life was worth something, and I want every project I make to reflect that belief, that no act of kindness is ever wasted, even when no one sees it." The room went silent. Then came the applause. It wasn't thunderous. It wasn't wild. It was quiet, sincere, exactly how Liam wanted it to be. After the panel, a woman from the nonprofit approached him and pressed a business card into his hand. "We're always looking for stories like yours," she said. "Stories that remind people how much good there still is." Liam looked at the card, then at the sky. Then, without even realizing it, he whispered, "Thank you." He didn't know if Keanu Reeves would ever hear those words, but something told him. Maybe he already had. It had been almost a year since the diagnosis. Liam's life hadn't gone back to normal. It had become something better, more grounded, more intentional, more awake. His short film was now being used in college workshops on storytelling and empathy. He'd been invited to a handful of indie festivals, where his story, originally just a whisper in the dark, now echoed through packed auditoriums. And though he never used Keanu's name publicly, the whispers never stopped. People asked, speculated, wondered. But Liam never confirmed, not once. Because it wasn't about proving who saved him. It was about why someone had done it, and how quietly, how purely they'd gone about it. One cold morning in December, Liam took the subway uptown and visited the same indie theater where he used to work. The owner recognized him instantly and offered him a free ticket to whatever was playing. He smiled and picked the most ironic option on the list. John Wick, Chapter 5. Legacy. He sat in the very back row, alone. Not because he had to, but because it felt right. As the credits rolled and the familiar soundtrack played, Liam felt a lump rise in his throat. Not because of the movie, but because of everything he had survived, he had created, and he had carried someone else's kindness forward. What else could anyone ask for? Later that evening, as snow began to dust the sidewalks of New York, Liam walked home through the quiet streets. He stopped by a small bookstore to pick up a gift, a new copy of The Alchemist. The cashier wrapped it carefully, and Liam tucked it into his bag without explaining why. When he got home, he wrote a note and slid it inside the front cover. "This book changed my life because someone believed I was worth saving. Maybe now, it's your turn." He placed it in a padded envelope and addressed it anonymously to a freshman film student who had recently started a fundraiser for his own medical costs. He'd seen the post online just a few days before. He didn't know the kid. He didn't need to. All he knew was that someone once gave him a future without asking for thanks, and now it was his turn to do the same. Because that's how real kindness works. It moves in silence. It asks for nothing, and it changes everything. Just like Keanu.